Were you bar mitzvah in the same shul?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Salanta.
Which one? The Salant?
In
Salanta,
Yeshiva
Yeshiva
in the
Salanta,
Bronx. Yeah.
In the yeshiva. So Shabbos, you would go to the Salanta yeshiva to daven? There was a
Yeah.
shul.
When we were kids.
Did
yeah.
you like that shul?
Absolutely.
Howard, you like the shul?
Rabbi was there.
Rabbi Federbush?
Yeah.
And there was a Rabbi,
Rabbi
Pearl,
Pearl.
who was the principal of the school.
Yeah.
And
We used to sit next to Rabbi Pearl.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We moved to Pelham Parkway. In fact, we walked
Yeah.
from Pelham Parkway to Salanta.
Right.
Yeah, for the Shabbos. And I remember in my bar mitzvah, one of my father's workers did musaf. And when he got to musaf, instead of saying Nadishko, he said Keser. The whole shul went crazy. They loved it.
Your parents meet, if I may ask.
Well, my
According to my father, he was 12 years old, and my mother was 5 years
That
old.
sounds like a Bible story.
He was 12 years old, she was 17. And he was sent to her town to do an apprenticeship.
to go to a wedding also.
Yeah, he went to the wedding, but he was sent for an apprenticeship.
Okay, that I didn't know.
And he met my mother at this wedding or something, and he looked at her and he said to me, I looked at her and I said to myself, that's the girl I'm going to marry.
At that age.
At that age.
That's crazy, but good.
Yeah.
In those days, things were different.
Yeah.
But you know, she looked at him like a kid.
I
Yeah.
never met your parents, but I've heard. I do know that I love your mother because I love her cheese blintzes. You know, we've made it many times. I'm a sucker for cheese blintzes, and your mother's recipe is delicious.
It is.
Have we done it many times?
Yeah, I was
gotta
there
do it
once
many
when you
more.
did it together. Pardon?
The lemon rind is the trick.
Yeah,
It's delicious.
it is. My father told me many times that he was very athletic when he was young, because I always complained that he never played with us. You know, other children's fathers would throw baseballs for them and do this and that. My father had no time for that. He was working very hard. And he says, you know, when I was young, I could ride 2 horses standing up on their backs at a full gallop, roll a cigarette, and light it without falling off.
Your dad said that?
Yes.
Did he ever do that, or that's just an
No,
imagination?
No.
Finish
But-
the story.
I never believed him. I would say, you know,
Mices.
when he died, his nephew from Israel, Bela,
His niece or nephew?
his nephew.
Her name? It's a boy named Bela?
Bela.
Bela,
Bela's
yeah.
a
Oh,
Hungarian
okay. Yeah,
name.
yeah, okay.
Hungarian
His name was Dove.
Uh-huh, okay.
Yeah. Bela Ehrenfeld. He was the first son of my father was the youngest of 12 children. So his eldest sister had this son, Bela, who was 10 years younger than my father.
And he was an Ehrenfeld,
Yeah.
direct descendant from the Chassam Sofer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yichus.
Yeah.
Große Yichus.
Yeah. Anyway, when my father died, Bela writes to me from Israel and he says he would like to come and visit me and know who I am, because he doesn't know me, and my father was his favorite uncle. So I said, okay, I'll come and you'll stay with us. And he stayed here for about 6 weeks. One
And
day,
then he came to me.
and then he came to me and did the same thing. We're walking in the street in Costa Mesa, and he says to me, I'm going to tell you a story about your father you're not going to believe, but it's true. And he told me this story.
That he was on a horse rolling his...
Right, yeah.
He saw it.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And he said, your father loved horses, and the horses loved your father. And he said, I grew up on a farm, and when your father would come to visit, a half hour before he arrived at the front gate, the horses would be there
Waiting for him, like the dog owners who know
Yeah.
that.
Right.
So he wasn't stop making a Bubba Mice, your father.
Right.
No.
Right.
After he passes away, you find out it's true.
Find
Yeah.
out it's true. That's right.
It's unbelievable how connected you two are. I'm just watching the energy between them. I'm serious.
I'll tell you a story about my father.
I'm close with my brothers, but there's something unique here.
When I was born, he told me this story. He said and I was a boy, he ran out and he bought 3 things.
He told you that he did this.
Yes. A set of the Book of Knowledge, a violin, and a Parker pen and pencil set.
What did he tell you the reason? I remember the Parker pens.
Yeah.
Do they still make them?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Parker pens?
of
They
course.
lasted forever.
Right. Yeah.
And he gave them to me as I grew up
At separate times?
at separate times. Right.
Did you ever use the violin?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Many
both
many
did.
years. Both of us did.
Yeah.
And the Parker pen?
Absolutely.
And the Book of Knowledge? You're still working
I
on.
re-
We're
well-
working on.
I gave it to one of my cousins. I read the whole set.
And I did too.
Yes.
Yes.
Cover to cover.
So he bought it so you were the firstborn, so he went
Right.
out.
He went out and bought all 3 of them.
It's an interesting 3 elements.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It tells you what was important.
Yeah.
Knowledge, music, arts,
Right,
and
writing.
yeah.
Right. I'll tell you another funny story about my mother. We used to have the shoichet come to the house to shecht the chicken Friday. And she would deplume it,
Wow.
and make
Shabbos.
Shabbos, yeah.
Wow. Your mother feathered her own chicken,
Yeah.
plucked.
Plucked, yeah.
But you had fresh chicken.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was your mother's favorite Shabbos dish that you guys loved? Like, what did she make special that was delicious?
Chopped liver,
and
Chicken liver or beef liver?
chicken liver. And then the skin from the chicken, she would make what they call
Oy vey,
turkey
gribbenes. Oy vey.
which would
Yeah.
be grounding with eggs and onions, and then she would make something with the lungs
Oh, yeah.
and something with brains.
Ooh, sweetbreads.
Gefilte
Yeah.
fish.
She made her own gefilte
Oh,
fish?
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your father liked that? Was he a foodie, your
Yeah.
dad? He appreciated...
Oh, he loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your father looks extremely handsome.
He was. People would mistake him for Errol Flynn when he was young. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Mother, well, she was the guardian of the house, and she
Yeah.
kept a kosher home, a Shabbos sticker
Because
home.
your father wanted, or your mother wanted a Shabbos and a Jewish kosher?
wanted, yeah.
She wanted it before we wanted it. She made it.
She kept it. Your home was always kosher.
Yeah,
Right.
my first memory was my mother lighting Shabbos candles. That's my earliest memory.
Yeah, she always lit Shabbos candles.
Yeah, and my father always put on tefillin.
With it, your father put on tefillin every single day,
Yeah,
and for your bar mitzvahs, he bought you tefillin.
absolutely.
And we used to go buy a suit before Rosh Hashanah, before Pesach. We would
Yeah.
always send the clothes to the Shotney's factory.
To
Yeah.
check for shatnez.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. That's a very, strong observance. Meaning, in certain areas, it sounds like the fundamentals were very strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your father was religious. Your father was a frum yid.
At first, no, but then he became a Shomer Shabbos later in life. Actually,
Really?
Yes. Yeah. At first,
Would you
he-
consider that the boys were more religious than him?
And in the beginning.
in
yes.
the beginning, but he had very little education. He read Hebrew, but he didn't understand what he was reading. But he was a brilliant man in a lot of ways. I remember when we were very young, by heart, he would say Ashrei to us every evening, and we would repeat after him the Ashrei.
So he valued Jewish education
He did.
tremendously if he sent you to
sent
yeshiva.
He
us-
didn't have the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Right.
And what did he do? What did
He
he
was a
do?
furrier.
Yeah.
He was a furrier.
What's the most important thing you wanted to always impart to your children? Like, if there was a few important things you wanted your kids to hear or know or have, what was that? Or what is that?
I always wanted to treat other people as they wish to be treated, to be kind and and good.
And I told all my children and my grandchildren, God and your genes determine how beautiful you are on the outside. Only you can determine how beautiful
Wow.
you are on the inside. And it's important to be equally beautiful on both sides.
But that's in your hands.
Yes. And Baruch Hashem, they're beautiful inside as well as outside. You know that.
Let me ask, when you guys were like Bacher and younger, I mean, not children, but younger,
Yeah.
has your ideals and passions stayed the same? Have you changed over the course of your life, you think?
I became more involved in music.
Yes.
Music became a passion for me and for my life.
Correct.
Chazanas or music or both?
Both. I sang for a little over a year in the Oscar Julius Choir.
Meir, are you into Nagina music as much as your brother?
No.
Do you appreciate a good piece of Chazanas?
Absolutely.
Oh, you do like Chazanas, but you're not
Yeah.
as vested.
No. I'm not as vested, but I love music too, of all kinds. Mostly classical. I also like jazz, and I like chazonis. Yeah.
Howard, what are you drinking, if I may ask?
Scotch.
Can you say L'chaim?
L'chaim.
Are you a Scotch drinker?
I was, but I'm on this
Right, you can.
chemotherapy. I'm not allowed to drink alcohol with it.
You know you know the famous story. This guy quits drinking. He had to quit here. So the next week, he's at the bar again. The bartender said, "I thought you quit." He goes, "Yeah, I did quit, but this is for Eddie, my friend."
By the way, these are better than the ones you get in Gainesville.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They're from Schwartz's Bakery?
Yeah, he always spoke to me that he likes Schwartz.
Yeah.
So I hope you'll enjoy it. There's a pumpernickel bread. There's a rye. A corn,
I love their bread.
A corn rye.
I love the corn
So we'll
rye.
see.
I wanted
My
to
pleasure.
tell you, I sang in the Oscar Julius Choir. Every second Shabbos, I would walk across the Bronx to the Concourse Center of Israel, where we sang with Cup of Kagan, Benzia Cup of Kagan, and then I would walk back home.
Fainted during Yom Kippur, a
night.
solo that he was doing.
Oh, so it's nothing new that Yom Kippur is hard for him. I thought it was because we're working him and he's old, a little older now. So what age did you faint? That's a crazy story. You never told me.
About 11 and a half, 12.
Yeah.
I had a fever,
Yeah,
And you were
yeah.
fasting.
and I was fasting, and my parents didn't want me to go. But I said, I'm
You had
gonna
a solo,
go.
yeah.
I tried, I cried,
Yeah.
and they let me go. And fortunately, our great uncle lived around the corner. And so,
Which uncle? What was his name?
Dejo.
David. Deja,
Uncle Lobo,
Lobo.
Your
Deja
mother's
Lobo,
side or your father's side?
my
my
father.
father's side. And they took me to his apartment.
Did you go to the hospital or no?
No, just to his apartment.
Those days they gave you a few pets. Wake up, wake up. When did he surprise you?
My retirement party. I didn't know they were coming. There's a knock at the door. I go to the door of my house. There they are. In those days, when Fairfax was the Jewish area in Los Angeles, we went there once to buy a Kiddush cup for Avi's. I wanted to buy a Kiddush cup for my nephew. And there was a Judaic store. And right next to the Judaic store was a record store, a music store.
Right.
So I went into the music store, and Gabrielle came with me. And after about 15 minutes, she goes out. And she comes back with Gloria Ann laughing. And Gloria Ann says, Gabrielle ran in and said, "Hurry, Daddy's spending all our money."
I know how much you love each other because I've heard it and seen it from you, okay? What's your brother? I know he has tremendous milas, right? How do you say milas in English? Malot, virtues, credentials,
malot.
malot.
Yeah.
What is his greatest mila? Your brother's.
He is one of the most giving persons, I think, in the universe. Kind and giving. As a physician, he would listen to patients. They would become his family, his patients. in that way. He can't run out of giving.
Reb Meir Zev, what's your brother's greatest mila? The roasting we'll do another time. Tell me your brother's greatest mila in your opinion. Like, what have you learned from him the most, or what do you see in?
He's just such a steady person. The way he raised his children, everything. I've always admired that about him.
I like that word. Steady, solid,
Yeah.
consistent.
Correct.